Welcome, Katrina.
Welcome. Thank you. Most of you in this room already actually know me. Sandy was upset. She had a few people she wanted to be here that sort of canceled last minute, which is totally fine by me because when I first agreed to speak, I was like, oh yeah, fine. I love talking to people. And then when I realized it was like about me, I was like, oh. So I'm terrible at that. I can talk about anything. I can like, you know, any kind of educational anything that I know something about. I find it very easy to talk about. When I actually have to talk about myself, I'm like we were talking about earlier, it's like you forget your name. So I did write down a couple of notes, which are like all over the place because I really was struggling to pull it together. And the reason being that to come and actually like inspire and motivate people is really hard to do in a space like the one that I've been in for the last while. So in all honesty, I've spent the last 3 weeks like under a blanket, in my blanket fort at home. I've been struggling a lot, and so I felt like to come out and actually inspire people would be incredibly difficult. And so it didn't really come prepared with like a big elaborate step-by-step, here's what you do, because I don't think I would be fit to do that, for starters. And secondly, I put it out there, you know, yesterday on Facebook, like I'm really struggling, and you know, can anyone kind of speak on this topic and give some inspiration? And what I ended up with was everybody talking about how awesome I am, and I'm like, thanks, cool, that's great. Why isn't anyone giving me anything to go with here? Like I was hoping someone would give me like some notes, like here's my, but I knew that would backfire. And I got some amazing messages and notes, you know, by text and stuff with people just talking about sort of their experience with me and what I do. And then I was like, okay, that's exactly it. You know, I just can tell my story and hope to inspire you guys with that, and hope that you can take a few things away from it. So a little introduction to me. I own Here We Are in Port Coquitlam for the past 6 years. And growing up, I'll just tell this part quickly because it's like, I don't really want to relive that too much, but I was awful. I was a total nightmare from the time I was probably like 10 years old on. I was a really bad child, or I made really poor decisions. And getting into my teens, I was in even more trouble. So I made my teachers' lives hell. Like I got arrested and got taken to the police station, and my mom wouldn't pick me up. So they brought me home in a cop car, which was like way worse because the neighbors could see as I was in the back of it. It was really bad. But I went a lot of years kind of being that way, and I went a lot of years not really understanding why I was that way. And so fast forward quite a while, I went into high school, and my teachers had actually called my high school to warn them that I was coming. And that was the point where I actually had decided, like, I'm going to show up in a new school and I'm going to be different. And then I got there, and these people just like cut me down. It was like, why bother then, right? Like if that's just the way I'm going to be perceived, may as well just be that way. Mm-hmm. So a few years after that, into high school, just after high school, I lost one of my best friends, and I kind of took a bit of a spiral, and was basically dealing with my emotions and my behaviors by using drugs and alcohol, and had a little intervention from my family, basically that I'm a very unpleasant person to be around, which I know is shocking now. But really, seriously, people did not want to be around me, and I still in my mind for a really long time was thinking like, that's got to be them, right? And I think when you have the most important people around you sit you down and really seriously just let you know, not even in a loving way, like they were literally just like, nobody wants to be around you. I finally had to kind of realize like, okay, that's actually me. So I kind of started embarking on some personal development and things, and during that time started my business. So in doing that, sorry, back it up a little bit. When I went to hair school, I actually like made the choice to go because it was a quick program. I felt like I could probably do okay at it, and I didn't really want to go to school. And when I went to get the loan for that, my dad, who's a very successful business person, had to co-sign for it, and he actually kind of left me in the bank appointment. They had called him to get some information, and I went on the phone, and he was like, we need to talk about this when you get home. And so I didn't get the loan, and I was like totally crushed. And my dad's a very, like, everything is very specific and very linear and very, like, he thinks the whole world generally is out to get him. So he really wanted to make sure we had this figured out. And the conversation we had was basically, you know, what kind of career are you going to have as a hairdresser, like really? And I mean, he'd been going to get his haircut in a barber shop where they charge like $10 a haircut. And so he's picturing me going through all this schooling, spending all this money, and then not being successful, because how can you be? And so I fought, of course, because that's what I do, and convinced him that, you know, we have a multi-billion-dollar industry and it's always in need and that I can do it. I had no aspirations of actually being a salon owner at any time. I didn't see myself as a leader, and I mean, it turned out I was just really good at what I was doing. I got through school, I totally aced school, got out of school, started working, and just as it slowly kind of progressed, the places I was working in and the culture and everything that was going on around me was just always drama. You know, working with women sometimes can be that way. It was like, at one point, I remember sitting in a salon of 8 women being like, we could have a freaking reality TV show, like no joke, and it would be really popular because the drama was insane. And I just kept thinking, I love what I do. I don't love being here. I don't love coming to work anymore. And so I started renting a chair and kind of being my own boss, I guess. I did really well with that. And then there came a point where the lady I was working for actually threw a chair at me. And yeah, I was there to diffuse a situation between other people, and it escalated, and good thing there was somebody there to like pull me as I like went for her, because I just went, this is not, like, I can't do it anymore. So my original business partner that I started the business with, and I, of course, in the middle of a recession, decided to start a business. Seemed like, why wouldn't we? So we did that. The problem is that we didn't really have like a plan or a vision. It was like, it's better than where we are, and we could probably do it, so let's just do it. So on that note, I think what I realized very quickly into that relationship was that when you're not really clear on what you're doing, there's no way to really measure your success. There's no way to measure whether you're actually in line with your belief system. And I did have a vision. I just didn't speak up for it. I didn't say what needed to happen. And by the time that happened, I was really, really sick, and I didn't know why. I've been on a 4-year journey with that. I now know I have an autoimmune disease that I will have to medicate for the rest of my life, which is causing all sorts of other problems. So who knew stress could actually make you sick, like they say it can. It does happen. So at that point, I decided I had to make a decision, and it was to end the business relationship, which went okay. We kind of gave the option of, you know, either you keep it, I keep it, or we sell it and we just walk away. It ended up that I bought the business out. She stayed for a little while. Didn't really work, and what I realized in that time as well was like I still wasn't in alignment with what I had wanted, my original vision. So started jumping forward. Now what I realize is in business, for me, success for me is loving what I do and creating value for others. I always knew that. I always knew the sort of culture and the sort of environment I wanted to have around me, which is why I wanted to have a business. It wasn't to make money, because I was making money for myself. I was fine. It wasn't to have a salon that would grow into like 25 people in 8 different locations. It was to have one place where it was a healthy environment, very much like this one, where people can actually grow and people can actually learn, and people can actually love coming to work. And I feel like for the most part we have that. Some days are questionable. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of it. It was pretty simple. It was to give back, and you know, when people are in my chair, to actually have a conversation with them beyond like what Kim Kardashian's doing. So people still love that. Like we actually tried to take out the trash magazines, and it turned out people didn't like that very much. People do want to come in and they still want to be in the salon and girl talk and all of that stuff. However, I can say most of my clients that come in, the conversations that we have in my chair are actually very meaningful and actually have a purpose. So yeah, so basically, like, once I started doing things in alignment with the way I wanted to do it, the business started to take off, and the business started to become very successful. The other thing I know is that in order to gauge your success, you need to have a way to track it. When you have a way to track it, it keeps you motivated. When you start, setting goals, or you start having, things that you see, and you realize you're actually doing things that way, you actually are a lot more excited and you're a lot more motivated to keep going and to continue setting new goals and reaching for more. So the way to do that is to have that vision, to have goals, to have things that you're striving for, and to know what you want it to look like. And when it doesn't look that way and you're walking down that path and all of a sudden you're over here, you know right away by the way that it feels. And so I would say the same thing can be applied to your life. If you know what you're doing and you know what that looks like, you can always get back onto that path. If you have no idea and you're just flailing through life hoping that every day is going to be awesome just because you wake up and say it is, that will work for some amount of time, but there will come a point, where it's not. So I think my description of success early on was, to have everybody kind of know who I am and like, oh, you're a business owner and oh, you did it when you were 24. How exciting. And I was like, yes. And I felt like I was constantly failing because I felt like things were not going the way I wanted them to. I didn't really understand why. I thought for a long time it was because I didn't actually have education. Like I started a business with no formal education. And in my mind, everyone who starts a business has that. So I was like, well, what was I doing? Who does that? I do. So that was one of the biggest things also to look at is those sort of judgments and those beliefs that I had about myself from when I was young. That, I make bad decisions and that I'm not able to do things on my own and that people don't believe in me and all of those things. I carried that for a really, really long time. And only like very recently in doing some of the personal development that I have done have I really learned to kind of like step into that greatness and realize like you don't have to have thousands of dollars of education to be successful. You don't have to have years and years of school to walk into a business and go, okay, how am I going to do this? For me, it very much was like, how would I want to be treated when I walk into a salon or when I go get my nails done? How do they talk to me? What I want to be like offered a coffee, something so simple. And when people come in, they actually are looking forward to that. They won't, some people stop. They're late for their appointment with Starbucks. But some people won't stop. They like to come, and you don't even get one. I know. We're training them. We're training them.
Guilty of that?
Well, no, we just looked at you because you come to the salon, so you would know.
You know now.
She's like, I'm never going to Starbucks again. Yeah. But what we've realized in that is that people actually come in looking forward to that. They come in early. They come in to chat. We really have created that environment where, people can come in and talk to one another. They can, sometimes they're friends or they're people that haven't seen each other in a long time, and they realize like, oh, hey, you're here too. So it's really cool to see that and to see that without that really like strictly being the vision for me was more to be able to bring people together in a healthy environment, to take care of their beauty needs, obviously, and at the same time to have them have an overall amazing experience with us. And so the feedback now that we get from that is that people are actually doing that, and when they're not, they either move on or there's been a couple that we've had to break up with. It can be really tough, but it's really cool to be in a spot where that that's okay and that you're able to actually decide like, who do I want? It's not just like, well, they're coming in to get their hair done, I need their money, because it's not about the money. So realizing that some people are just going to be difficult always and that maybe they're not the best people to have in your chair, especially in such a small environment. So it's really cool to be able to be at the point where we can do that. And like for Sandy, I'll just give you a little short story about how Sandy came to us. Sandy came right out of school and was like, I want to rent a chair. And we were like, no, people don't do that, right? Like, no. And she was like, no, seriously, I think I can. And we're like, well, do you have clients and friends? She's like, no, my friends live in Kelowna. We're like, well, okay. And we loved her. She walked in and was just like, yeah, like, I'm just going to, and ignorance is bliss. Like, really, we were like, no. And I was like, if you want to, you can. Like, there's a space for you, and we love you, and we'd love to have you here. Like, good luck. Seriously, I have never actually witnessed somebody do that. And like the one thing that they teach you in school about chair rental is do not walk out of school and think that you're gonna just go rent a chair. She did, and she's still doing it. 4 years later? Mm-hmm. So the moral of that story is that I love to teach. I love to share information with people. I love sharing education with people. And one of the great things about that was when Sandy came in, she was kind of like, then she walked in and was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And she actually did. She just didn't believe that she did. Like, I watched her do things that were just like, whoa, you're like 2 weeks out of school. That's amazing. And she'd be like, I don't know. And she'd always shake. And she would always talk really fast when she started to get nervous about things, right? She would just go, da, 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 da. And we're like, slow down. She still does it. You know when she's like singing and humming and like that she's panicking about something. You know it. You know. It is so true. But the moral of the story is not to pick on Sadie. It's that truly, like, she came in and was like, I'm going to do this, and she did. And she doesn't have an ego where she's not able to ask. I mean, I still ask her for advice. Like, we still go back and forth. And one of the really cool things about that is looking at some of the people we've worked with who don't have that and won't do that, where their success is or isn't at this point. And you look at where we are, and it's like, okay, this works. We know it works. So it's really great to realize that with her and with my other young employee who's been with us for 6 years but just finished her schooling, that she is learning and she is able to get to that point, and she's getting clientele and she's getting people coming back, and it's like, oh, okay, we can do this. As much as she's excited about it, I'm excited about it because I know that we're mentoring her and we're actually able to bring this person in who really knows nothing and help her to become successful. So that kind of brings me to the sort of giving back part of success. For me, contribution is a huge thing, as most of you know. I used to actually give a lot because I felt guilty about the way that I had taken from other people at that time in my life when I was a taker. And so I started to do things, and people would be like, oh, that's great, and I'd have this like guilt about it because I was like, well, I'm only doing it to try to redeem myself for all the times that I really like took from people. And I actually had an old friend, someone I played sports with when I was young, who witnessed me like throwing bats and throwing tantrums and disrespecting like adults. And she came in and she was like, wow, it's just so amazing to like see where you're at, because like we all really just thought you'd never amount to anything. And I was like, oh. Honest. Like I knew a lot of people felt that way, and the one thing I really went and like started thinking about this because my feelings weren't hurt because I was like, well, that's a true statement, and she had the gall to say it. But what I really started thinking about in that was, wow, there was all these people who thought that, who could see how much I was struggling as like a really young person, and not one person offered to help me. Not one person like even tried to figure out, where is this coming from? Everyone just went like, well, she's bad, I'll stay away from her. And like realistically, I was the same person then that I am now. I just didn't know how to bring that out. I have all the same stuff inside of me. So I kind of thought about that, and I was like, you know what? That makes you even worse, because you watched that happening and you did nothing. And it really, I mean, I was already contributing at that point, but it really opened my eyes to the why, like why we give back and why we actually do help and support people. And so one of those things was joining Rotary. In joining Rotary, what I realized was I have a whole team of people behind me now. Instead of being like one person in a small salon trying to give back to all these things, I now have like an army of people to support me. And I can tell you that I get more from giving than I do from receiving or from taking from people. And so I've realized now, for me, like, service is success. To actually give yourself and your time and your efforts and things that you can't actually measure in the same way that you can money is actually contributing to my success. And it actually does contribute to my financial success as well, because people within these groups and people that see what you do actually want to support you for that reason. When you actually have a purpose and you're actually giving back, people want to give back to you, and people want to support your business for the sake that A, you're good at what you do, but B, you're also giving back to your community and to the environment around you. So on that note, one of the things in our salon that we really pride ourselves on is that we're a green salon. And that was a vision I had a really, really long time ago. And then this program came out where we can recycle like 95% of our waste. And I was like, including like our metals, our hair, which gets made into oil booms, paper, plastic, and chemical. We actually have a bin where all of our extra chemical goes into, and no, it doesn't blow up. That was my first question. I was like, how are we going to mix pearls with color? It's really cool, and it's a really great program. And we do pay to be part of it. However, we know that like we literally throw out one white kitchen garbage bag every 2 to 3 weeks in the salon, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't recognize that people actually cared about that. I just knew it was something that I cared about. And on a side note, I had a birthday party last year, and we ended up throwing out a whole bunch of stuff, and I had guilt for like 3 weeks after that about it. Like, that's the point that I've gotten to now, because I realized like how much you can actually do without doing anything. We literally just have, I'll give her 10. We literally just have these bins that we recycle into. And now we have a program where we actually plant a tree for every client. So I'm realizing that even though those things were not like on a list for me to do, that those are contributing to our success as well. And I think I already touched base on like our client interactions. You know, when people come in and the feedback that we get from people, I mean, obviously they love their hair, but they also have an experience in the salon that's memorable and one that's actually meaningful each time they come in. And so for me, that's a really amazing way for us to gauge our success. And to sort of wrap it up, you know, like I said earlier, a lot of people were always kind of pushing me down, right? People weren't believing in me. People were, you know, even to this day, it happens in all different ways where people will put you down and people will kind of throw you under the bus or throw you under the rug and cover you up. And I mean, success in that aspect, in every aspect of your life, is, you know, getting up and continuing to do it. You know, staying in your integrity to actually do what you say you're going to do. And it's amazing how much when you actually do that, how many people and how many amazing people that attracts around you, so that you really are surrounded by like-minded people that way. So I have this one little quote that I found from Michelle Obama that like really nailed it for me. I literally was at the point where I was like Googling like, what is success? Because I like thought I should have this like PowerPoint today about like, you know, how to inspire you with that. So this quote I think really, really nails it for me. Success isn't about how much money you make, it's about the difference you make in people's lives. So for me, that's not only contributing to people in need in our community and the projects that we do with that, but also the people in your chair. You know, everybody, you know, people come in and sometimes they're late and automatically we're like, wow, you're late, and we freak out. And sometimes it's because they've had like a really, really shitty day. And so it's kind of remembering to have that compassion for people that, you know, for the last 3 weeks where I've been in my blanket fort, that other people are in that position too. And sometimes success, literally, like for me last night, was like actually shaving my legs in the shower, and I was like, like that for me was like a win yesterday, because yesterday was not a good day. And so there's one thing you can sort of take from it, even when you're in that position. You know, even for today, like showing up and just being like, you know, sharing my story and hoping that you can take a little something from it, or at least enjoy the humor and making fun of Sandy. And I did bring you guys something too. So a little quick, short little story, because this will not make a lot of sense unless you understand it. When I was doing a leadership program, a 90-day program, they gave us this job with these buttons, and some of you got these text messages. We were to sell these buttons, which say, accept your greatness. Aww. So we had to sell these buttons. We had an hour and a half, I think it was, and we had to sell these buttons. And it was to I don't remember all the premise of it, but anyways, we had to sell these buttons to people and then give them to good causes. And so I bought a bunch of extra ones, and I was like frantically fronting my friends. And in doing that, literally, we were like, there was these boxes of them, and we were like, an hour and a half. We sold, they were $1 each. We sold almost 12,000 buttons.
In an hour and a half?
So it really reiterated that like everything is possible. So that's
crazy,
sort of how I live now, that everything's possible. So I brought you guys each a little button to accept your greatness, and you can keep it or you can give it to someone that you think might need it. And I have a lot of them at home actually, because I saved them for a good cause. So if you ever find someone that might need a reminder to accept their greatness, I have buttons.
Do you want yourself today?
Yes, I will. Thank you. So thank you for having me. I hope I stayed kind of on track and on time.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you're ever in doubt or living in your blanket fort, just put that little button on and maybe shave your legs. I don't know.
Good job.
That is the book title. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
accept your greatness. Blanket fort, baby, shave your legs.
Yeah.